everyone. Welcome to Industry Insider. My name is Carrie Wise, and I'm a vice president at TrueCar, and I'm joined by my team member, Matt Jones, who serves as a director at TrueCar. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to stop and just remind everybody to make sure to share this with your friends. And while I'm sharing it, Matt, why don't you give them a little background on Industry Insider?
Sure, I could do that because I've already shared it. I've already started a watch party for this. Industry Insider, it's a show that Carrie and I, it's just my dude, we're so proud to bring to the automotive body. We love automotive. Carrie's been in the business for about 20 years. I've been in the business for about 20 years, and we want to help the body just get better and adapt and be the best that we can be. And one of the ways that we figured that we could do that is maybe creating a platform where dealers can share some of their best tactics and their best techniques with other dealers. In some cases, the best information that you can get on how to be better is from people who are in your place, wearing your shoes, and who are killing it. So that's what we're doing with Industry Insider, dealer-to-dealer communications. And that's another reason why we are so hopeful that you share this content, because the more people who see it, the more people can, pick up a couple tips and techniques that can maybe, move their career or their business forward. So that's a little bit about the show. And thank you for joining today.
And we mentioned that we both work at TrueCar, and if you have information or want information on TrueCar, you can go to truecar.com/dealer. But today we're going to jump into our topic of the day. And I think, the reason why we chose this guest, and I'm going to let Matt introduce him, is that he has seen a ton of success for his brand in his market by doing right by the customer, right? By focusing in on the customer. But what has also been very powerful is his deliberate focus on inclusion and giving back to his community. And we really want to dig into that, because I think, there's been a theme of inclusion in the last couple of weeks with everything that's going on in this country. But our guest has been well ahead of the curve on inclusion of all different groups. So we want to dig in on that. Matt, I'll let you introduce him.
So today's guest is the one and only Richard Herod. He is the owner and the GM of White Bear Mitsubishi in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. So he's an industry vet. Obviously, he's going to be a vet, or he probably wouldn't be on the show. But he's a community pillar, and not just as a businessman, but as a person. But probably most importantly, he's just a good dude. He's an all-around great guy. So with no further ado, we would like to introduce you to Richard, our special guest for the day.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Carrie. How are you guys?
Thank you so much for being here.
It's good to see you guys. Carrie, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. And
nobody knows me. I'm feeling so like I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna have to deal with this somehow. I need to get out. Everybody knows Carrie. I need to be known too.
No, you know what? You're starting to build a reputation, Matt. Like, people are starting to know you. The last time I was out, well, it's been a couple months now, but somebody asked me about you. So you're starting to build a reputation in the bit. And listen, your reputation precedes you when it comes to auto retail.
As long as I do this a long time. People like Richard, I'm actually okay. So,
let's jump in. And Richard, we were just talking, and we met. I think it was 2 years ago at the Innovative Dealer Summit, which is the Colorado, Dealer Association event. And I don't know if I had met you prior to that. I probably saw you on social media, but you just grabbed my attention, in part because everything you bring to the table as just a person. But, you were talking about social media and your focus on that. And you played a commercial that I've watched so many times. Every time I watch it, I crack up laughing. And so I think before we jump into that, maybe we should just play the commercial.
Play the commercial.
Let's do it.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, let's jump in and let's play the commercial.
What's the blooper reel? It's not the commercial, it's the blooper.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, so this is a commercial for your dealership, but it's the blooper reel that you shared on public. Why don't you give us the background? Give us the background before we jump into the commercial. Set us up.
It's fall of 2016, and we were taping a commercial. We sponsor the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers athletics program, and we even have a Mitsubishi Zamboni on the ice that drives around So I don't know if it's a Zambishi or a Mitsuboni or whatever we call it, but it's wrapped. It looks like a Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. And as part of our sponsorship, we were taping a commercial on the ice to showcase Mitsubishi's being really good in snow and ice because they're 4-wheel drive. And it took us 4 hours to tape a 30-second commercial because our bear kept falling on the ice over and over and over again. And we taped this commercial, I think, in October or November, and I think it was right before the election. And of course, after the election, people felt a specific kind of way, either super happy, super sad, but families weren't talking to each other anymore, or at least certain parts of families weren't talking, or friends weren't. And, you know, I went back to our ad agency, which is Cuneo Advertising, and I said, hey, you know, we should take a look at that video and see if we have any outtakes from that. Because I remember the bear falling down so many times. And when they sent me the video that they put together for the blooper reel, I laughed so hard I cried the first time. Like, I literally, tears were running down my face because I thought it was so hysterical. And, you know, we posted the video on Christmas Eve, and it was sort of, you know, everyone was kind of at home with their families, and video views kept growing and growing by the day, you know, 10, 20,000 a day. And then we get to early January, and Bette Midler shared it on Facebook, and Judd Apatow tweeted it on Twitter, and now the video on Facebook, depending on which copy you have, has had amassed over 100 million views. So,
wow. Let's play it, and then let's break it down. It's crazy. Wait till you see this commercial. And just to give context, you're in White Bear, Minnesota, right?
White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Yep. And there's actually a
White Bear Lake.
There's actually a lake in White Bear, Minnesota called White Bear Lake.
Awesome. Okay, let me play the commercial. Let's see if this works. Let's see here. And we'll play it here.
I wore the wrong socks. I wore the wrong socks. I did get to ride a bear once. Have you played which one? Oh yeah. Have you tried the hot dogs here? It's like you get to go home for the rest of the day.
It's not going to be much use to us, I don't think.
Needless to say, I didn't get my deposit.
Uh-oh.
Needless to say, I didn't get my deposit back.
The bear never breaks character.
I've never been kissed by a gopher before. And White Bear Mitsubishi is a proud sponsor of Golden Gopher High.
I mean, I should have helped him up sooner. It felt really bad. Like is he dead?
Oh, too funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that is too funny. Perfection. So what was the impact of sharing the bloopers? You said like it was millions of followers, celebrities sharing it, but like, what did it do in terms of just connection to like consumers? What do you think? Why did you want to show the bloopers?
Well, one, because, you know, car dealer commercials are just car dealer commercials. We have fairly funny commercials, right? But during this particular commercial shoot, we thought we had something that just might make people smile. We didn't think it'd be as big. I mean, I'll share a video on Facebook and we'll get 5, 10, 15, 20,000 views. We have a fairly robust, social network between the dealership and my personal page, but we never expected anything like this. I mean, when you sort of built the momentum up, I mean, the day that Bette Midler shared it, all of a sudden it's 4:00 in the morning, and all of a sudden my phone's ringing with New York phone numbers at 4:00, and I'm like, what's going on? And all of a sudden I wake up and we're on Good Morning America and
Wow.
AM Joy and Anderson Cooper, and all of a sudden it was on almost every single TV station in the country. And it was just really cool because, during that time, it's like, people falling on ice, hysterical. Sports, college sports, people dig that, and they like to laugh. And so for us, it was really good to help put our White Bear Lake, Minnesota on the map. And, it really kind of speaks to our community. And so people around here are really proud that we had a viral video come from White Bear, and our dealership's really proud too. We have a lot of great employees that work here, and, our customers come in and, they're like, oh, I still love that video. I still love that commercial. And, we do a lot of different commercials, not only hockey related for our community involvement, but, we do commercials in sign language. We have a large deaf community that follows the dealership and frequents the dealership. And if we're not doing sign language in a commercial, we make sure that every single one of our commercials are open captioned so that our commercials are accessible to a hearing impaired audience. So
yeah, we want to dig into that. We definitely want to dig into that. But Matt, I think let's start with your beginnings, and now I'll let you kick off. Matt.
Yeah. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you and your start in the car business.
So August will be 24 years for me working at the same dealership.
At the same dealership, right?
Same dealership, yeah.
Oh. That's a big deal.
I've had one employer my entire adult life. So
wow. So you love your job.
I love my job. Yeah. And so I actually started part-time as a cashier in college. And this was a Saturn dealership. So we answered phones, and I, drove my little Saturn to work and everything. And, kind of progressed through the ranks from cashier to finance. And then after I graduated college, my business partner, Dave Rowan, sat me down and said, well, I'd like you to consider selling cars. And I said, I didn't go to college to sell cars. I went to school for marketing. And, he made a really good point to me. He said, people that have never sold may not fully understand marketing the way that someone who sells knows marketing. He said, because a lot of people are good at getting the customer in the door, but if you're not able to help convert the customer from intent to purchase, you may not understand the full life cycle. And so for me, I sort of took that as an interesting challenge and kind of scratched my head. And I said, well, there's some logic to this, because I was looking at companies like 3M and Hormel and any other company that would interview me with my marketing degree, but my heart and soul was in cars. And, I told my babysitter at 8 years old I was going to own a car dealership someday.
Really?
And crazy enough, because, I work for who I work for, and, we're part of the Rydell Automotive Group. And with the Rydell Automotive Group, they try to make entrepreneurs out of young talent. And because of how the Rydell dealership group operates, I have the opportunity to buy this business. And it's just kind of cool to think that, from cashier to owner, it's a trip.
That's incredible. What a transition, What a transition from cashier. I mean, if you say, okay, I started off as a salesperson, that's one thing, like I started off as a salesperson. I was trying to get there, but a cashier usually doesn't have aspirations of running the joint usually. And here you are. It's just fantastic.
Well, I'm not sure what I thought at the time, really, to me, I was really impressed by how Saturn provided really good customer service to people. I appreciated, their one price, best price approach to car sales. And, they were always topped in JD Power's customer service, which was really impressive to me. And, in Minnesota, a car that didn't rust or dent, that was, pretty a big thing. I mean, in our 20 years of being Saturn, I think, I forget how many, I know we did over 100,000 oil changes, we sold 100,000 cars in 20 years as Saturn, and we did 1 million oil changes without an appointment.
Wow.
So we were one of the top Saturn dealers in the country. And so, when GM went through their bankruptcy and decided that they were going to end their relationship with Saturn consumers, Mitsubishi Motors approached our dealership. Mitsubishi and Suzuki approached our dealership, and we became a Mitsubishi and Suzuki dealership at that time. And in the last 10 years, it's actually 10 years since we became Mitsubishi. We've become one of the top 3 Mitsubishi dealerships in the country. We've made some pretty incredible things happen with our people. I mean, not only are we in one of the top volume Mitsubishi dealerships in the country, we also have some of the top CSI scores. In fact, for customer satisfaction, people buying a Mitsubishi, we have the top top scores in Minnesota for that, and we lead the region most months of the year. On top of that, we go for market share. In the St. Paul market, which is a market that we serve, we have 3 number 1 selling nameplates in our market. So the number 1 selling small car in St. Paul is a Mitsubishi Mirage. The number 1 selling small SUV is a Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. And the number 1 selling hybrid is the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. So we sell more than the Chrysler Pacifica. We sell more than the Honda Clarity, the Chevy Volt, anything else with a plug-in hybrid, the Mitsubishi Outlander outsells it. And so
that's amazing.
So it's pretty cool. I mean, there are times where you go to a stoplight in White Bear Lake, and on every single stoplight corner or street corner, there's a Mitsubishi.
Oh man,
it's pretty cool.
That's got to be really cool.
What has been your key to success, though? I mean, how have you achieved? You said you were, number 1 in CSI. You have all these sales accolades. Like, what has been your key to success in achieving that?
I think people and treatment of customers. I mean, if you don't have laser focus on customer satisfaction, you lose. If the customer doesn't feel like whether it's greeting a customer on the show floor, right? And right now we're in a different space because of COVID-19. The handshake now is something different. Now it's a wave or maybe an elbow bump or a foot tap or something. But it's like we're sort of re-engineering our sales process because of COVID. But the laser focus on making sure that customers feel like they're the most important thing. I mean, whether you're spending $10, $15, or $20,000 on a car, it should feel magical. You should feel important. You should feel satisfied when you leave. And if you're not, we need to know about it. I mean, take a look at our Google reviews, right? I think our Google score right now is 4.7 or 4.8. We have thousands of 5-star reviews. Between Facebook, Google, all the different review sites. People have a great experience when they come here to buy a car. So not only does Mitsubishi Motors recognize us for having top CSI, our Google reviews say it, our Facebook reviews say it, our Car Gurus, Carfax, all of those sources all show how we take care of customers. In terms of people, we have a lot of tenure here. We have a lot of people that have been here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, people who were with us when we were Saturn, that stayed with us when we became Mitsubishi in 2010. And we have customers that have driven Saturns forever, and now they're driving Mitsubishi. And so we're just very fortunate that we've created sort of a family of customers, a family of employees, and really kind of in this community that we serve, with all the different community partners that we have, whether it's Golden Gopher Athletics or Twin Cities Pride or the deaf community or whatnot. We really feel like we're here to serve. And so I really kind of believe that having a servant mentality first is what leads to future success.
What I really love about what you said is, like, sometimes when you ask a GM or you ask an owner, like, what's your keys to success? A lot of times they go to process, or they go to tools, or they go to this or that. Yours said a laser focus on serving the customer and having a great team around you, and then tenure with it. And I think that's, at least that talks to me. I think that's admirable, is that you're focused on satisfying your customer is what you attribute to your success. So I really appreciate that. But what's interesting about you and your store is that your success seems to be it goes beyond sales, it goes beyond CSI, and you've mentioned some of the groups within your community that you've embraced, athletically or socially. And we know that you've won numerous awards because of this, being a major advocate for the LGBTQ community and rights in the Twin Cities. So what are some of the most important milestones that you would say when you're talking about embracing people in your community?
I think being able to stand shoulder to shoulder with anybody either in the community or in the dealership. I don't like my office. I'm sitting here in my office in the dealership, but I sit on the show floor in a little booth by where customers are. I don't like.
You're not in a tower that's 20 feet above everybody else looking back. Like
we don't have that kind of. We have an open. We're very transparent. I mean, customers can walk up to our sales managers. and everything. But a leader doesn't necessarily always lead from the front. Sometimes you have to lead from the side, being right next to. So whether you're in the community or in your dealership, I think standing shoulder to shoulder with people. So whether it's a food drive, right, where you're trying to, like every year we try to, collect thousands of pounds of food. We typically say the weight of this Mitsubishi is 4,000 pounds. Help us collect 4,000 pounds for this food drive. Or if we're raising money for Twin Cities Pride, or if we are trying to help save an event, like last year, there was a community event in St. Paul that needed some extra funding to help make sure a parade happened, right? Our dealership stepped up, wrote a check. To me, it's just about being there to fight with people, because everyone has a different journey.
Yeah.
In terms of fighting for community, I wasn't really much, as you talked about GLBTQ rights, back in 2012, Minnesota had a marriage amendment where they tried to make it constitutionally illegal for same-sex couples to wed. It wasn't recognized on a national level yet, but there was a group of people that wanted same-sex marriage should never be a possibility in Minnesota. They wanted to write me out of the Constitution. And it was at that moment where I kind of learned what it took to be part of something, because someone tried to take rights from me. And I wasn't okay with that, because I'm like, one day I want to get married. And luckily right now I'm engaged. I get to, hopefully next year, as long as we can get a wedding venue, I'll get to marry the man of my dreams. And and because I fought 8 years ago alongside with other people to make sure that marriage event was defeated, I think that made a difference. And, in terms of the gay community, because I took such a stance the way I did, like my story was I had a vote no yard sign in my yard, and my townhome association told me to take it down. They said, you can't do that here.
It was like an HOA?
Yes. And I'm just like, and ironically, their actions were illegal, because in Minnesota, you're forbidden to make any signs or ordinances about yard signs 45 days before an election. So they actually got into legal trouble because of it, but I didn't know that right away. So instead I said, okay, well, I can't have a yard sign. So I took my Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, and I had vote no plastered on both sides of it, and parked my car in my driveway as a protest. And I just said, fine, I can't have it in my yard, but you can't regulate my personal property.
Right.
And in terms of what the community saw at that point, I shared that picture on Facebook, and that was actually the first time I went viral. That photo shared. And
did you share your story too behind it? Like, did you share that entire story on that post, or was it just like the picture of your car? Did you give them the
picture of the car? And I said, my townhome association told me I couldn't. So Minnesota's trying to write me out of the Constitution. My townhome association says I can't try to fight for my rights. This is how I responded. I think that's how And what was awesome about that is people started reaching out to me saying, hey, how can I do that? So all of a sudden I started creating rapping events, not where I'm like rapping songs, but like vinyl rapping cars with vote no on it. Right. And all of a sudden there were hundreds of vehicles driving around Minnesota with vote no on it. And every dollar that I collected, I turned it into a fundraiser. We raised $17,000 from that event so that the Vote No campaign could get the message out there and buy more radio time and TV time and everything. And it was a grassroots effort, and we barely won. Like, we defeated that amendment. And so I think at that point, in terms of fighting alongside the, gay and lesbian community, I think people started to see who I was, and which is why I've been recognized, by the Human Rights Campaign, and then recently by the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal for being a business of pride this year. And so it's been a really, fun journey to kind of have my own voice or find my own voice.
Yeah. And,
because typically there are, in the car industry growing up, I thought the reason why I couldn't be a car dealer is because I was gay.
Mm-hmm.
I am gay because I've always been gay. I wasn't gay before, gay all the time. But the point of it is, I just didn't think as a young gay kid that there was room for me to be in a predominantly male environment. I didn't think there was room for me. And luckily, my leadership here at the dealership, my business partner, David, and the Rydell Company, they embraced diversity. They embraced me. They embraced my talent. They embraced everything about me. And it was so wonderful, and it just gave this starry-eyed kid a chance to make something good happen.
Well, you make me, I'm so happy to hear that you're accepted for who you are in your work environment. And it's just, I guess what I was like, as I'm hearing you talk, we all have things that we back, or we're, charities or causes that we're supportive of, but we're not always able to blend them in terms of our careers and the work environment, right? It's not always permitted to kind of blend those worlds. And in some ways, you've been able to do that in a car dealership of all places, which is just like, it blows my mind as I'm hearing you talk. Like, it's not that you're in, some tech company, you're in a car in the auto industry. And as you said, we haven't always been known as the most diverse and inclusive industry. So how did you have the courage to go from your kind of protest at your house to actually bringing it into the culture of the store and participating in Pride Month and doing all these initiatives to support that community?
Well, ironically, before we were a Mitsubishi dealership, we were the Saturn dealership.
Yes.
And we actually sponsored Gay Pride for years before that. So we have a legacy of sponsoring Gay Pride for over 20 years.
Wow.
And so the dealership embraced me and my interest in it. We had rainbows of Saturns in the Gay Pride parade every year, and now it's Mitsubishis that are rainbowed up or whatnot in the Pride parade. But so it wasn't. I don't think it was even a question in terms of us continuing that, because it's just, this is just something we do. I mean,
right.
So so that part of inclusiveness for our dealership group just wasn't a thing, because everyone just said, when I started working here and I wasn't out at the time, and then I came out and they're like, oh, Richard's gay. Okay. It was literally that hard. It wasn't a big deal. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I'm selling cars, I'd like to help us sponsor Gay Pride. And we sponsored it, and we, worked with that community, and we embrace it, and the community embraces us in return. And we're very, very thankful for that.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, because are you a hockey player yourself?
No, actually my keys to athleticism was kickboxing, and I also did hip hop dancing.
So you're an athlete. Well, we're gonna talk about okay. So you were almost rapping, and now you're a hip hop dancer. We'll get back to that later. All right, but so and you're not deaf, right?
My parents are. So
okay.
So sign language was my first language. I was signing before I could speak. I wanted to ask about that, and hopefully if we have time later, we can show the commercial as well, like the Goldilocks commercial, which I thought was just fantastic. Well, I want to know why is it so important to you to support your local community and all the different segments of it? So I think you cut out a little bit. So it was the question, why do I think it's so important to support my local community?
Yes.
Yeah, in all of the different segments. Like, it's not, obviously we talked about the LGBTQ community, and that's a personal thing for you. So that one to me makes sense, but you also support, the deaf community and other segments. And why is that important to really deliberately target those segments?
Well, so if you think about the deaf community, for example, right? I remember as a kid when my father would go to buy a car, I was his sign language interpreter. I had to interpret between the car salesman and my dad, and I was the kid stuck in the middle, right? So the service I can provide the deaf community is I can sit down, sign with them. Okay, what's your goal? What's your payment? I can work on their trade, work on their financing. I have trust. It's a seamless process from front to back. I have a salesperson that knows sign language. I have another employee in the dealership who knows sign language. So there's typically always someone in the building that knows sign language. So it's the same thing with dealerships that target, Spanish speaking markets, right? Mm-hmm. Having someone in the dealership that can speak Spanish is a no-brainer, right? Mm-hmm. Having someone that knows sign language, if you're in a heavily populated deaf community area, that's also super important. But the question, Carrie, that I want the specific answer I want to give you about why. Because in 1985, my father was laid off, and we weren't going to have a Christmas that year. And because of people and their kindness in the community, that year my brother and I got a Christmas gift. And ironically, they were white bears. And they called them Santa bears. And so that year for Christmas, we had Santa bears. I didn't really think much about it until a couple of years ago, because every time someone buys a Mitsubishi, we give them a little white bear in the backseat of their car. It's buckled in the backseat. And when they come in for oil changes and whatnot, their white bear's still back there, or goes on road trips, or they take pictures. We do an annual contest to make calendars with these white bears for our customers. So we really make the bear pop, but we kind of talked about making Santa bears, which we did this past year, bringing a food donation for our food drive. We'll give you a Santa bear. And all of a sudden it hit me, 35 years ago, a white bear changed my life.
Yeah.
The kindness of others did that. And I'm lucky enough to have a dealership in White Bear Lake, ironically, that has a white bear mascot. And when you can do good for others, it makes life pretty good. I mean, if you're, I heard, from one of the patriarchs of our company talk about, if you're ever having a bad day, go help someone. And if you help other people all the time, one, you feel better. Two, you're doing good. And you know what? People remember that.
Yes, yes. And it translates to all segments of your customers. Like when I saw your deaf commercial, which we're going to play in a second, but when I saw it, like, it doesn't personally benefit me as a customer. Like, it wouldn't benefit me, but to me, it says a lot about you and your dealership and the culture, that you're being thoughtful about not just like maybe the main population or the majority of customers, but for this segment. And what does that mean for any other segment of minority or anything like that? To me, it sends me a signal that you guys would be very open to all.
We are. Yeah, we're very, we, whether you have a disability, not a disability, gay, lesbian, straight, bisexual, we even have a transgender male that works here at the dealership, right? Mm-hmm. We embrace everyone, right? We don't pick fights, or we don't draw lines about who belongs here and who doesn't. Really everyone's welcome. And that's, really if you believe in a higher power, my belief in God, translates into my actions. I think if by going to church as a kid, I learned about what to do and what not to do. And you're supposed to be giving all the time.
Absolutely. I want to play that commercial. Matt, you mind if we step aside? I'm going to play that commercial because I think this one, so this is focused on the deaf community, and let me play it. Oops, there we go.
Goldie and her family first drove the Outlander Sport, and it was wonderful. Then they drove the Eclipse Cross, and it was awesome. Finally, they drove the Outlander, and it was just right. Of course.
Now, Scratch and Dent sales event. Save up to $10,000. 2018 Outlander Sport ES from $14,999. 2018 Mirage from $99.99.
Love it.
White Bear Mitsubishi.
That is awesome.
And that's just fantastic. We don't always see that type of love and inclusion. And one of the things that stands out about what you said about like who you hire and the people in your store and inclusion of everybody is a lot of people at dealerships say they're challenged when it comes to hiring or retaining, women, for example. We'll just say women, for example, right now. And then, as people who've watched this show a couple times will know, I'm a stalker. So of course I stalked your site, and so I went through your About Us pages. And I see that it seems like people are very well represented within your store, right? We've got different orientations, we have different colors, we have different ages, we have different sexes. So some people say that they have a hard time just getting diversity, but that doesn't seem to be a problem for you. So where's the disconnect? Like, how are you doing? And like, how is this happening when everybody else is saying they're having a hard time finding, women, and you're able to find everybody?
I would say for us, I think culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think I read that in a book somewhere.
I've never heard that, but gosh, I love that.
It was in a book. So I don't know who I stole. I don't know who I stole that from, but I believe it. So if you have a culture of good communication, fairness and equity, obviously, fairness and equity in pay. I mean, our controller is a female. My new car manager is a female. Half of my finance managers are female. We have females on staff in sales. We have females in our express lube, quick lane. We have them on the service drive. It's just a thing. It's who we are. And our customers like to see people like themselves when they come into the dealership. So, we do, think about it, right? We do between 1,000 and 1,500 oil changes a month without an appointment here at the dealership. We're busier than some Jiffy Lubes and Valvoline rapid oil changes, right? But a lot of our staff, you have females changing oil, whatever. Like we work with local community colleges and whatnot to help recruit talent, but there is the art of attraction, right? So the more community events we are part of, we have more people from represented communities saying, hey, you know what? I want to work there, right? So, some of my best talent that I've recruited in the last couple of years hasn't been because I put out an ad. It's been because someone said, hey, my friend isn't getting the treatment or respect that he deserves at this other dealership. Would you please talk to him about an opportunity with your organization? Or, hey, you know what? Because of the Vote No campaign, right? One of the people, Nancy and her wife Danielle, we met, and she was a pastry chef, and she thought about selling cars. And she drives 40 minutes each way to work and home just to work here, and it's changed her family's life. We have people who say, I want to come work for you. And so I think being a good leader, being a good example, being a good community citizen, people see that and they want to participate.
What kind of community events are you involved in? Like, what are your main events that you're involved in as a dealership?
I don't know which ones we're not. Seriously, it's a month by month thing. So in January, we're jumping in the lake with our bear, raising money for the Special Olympics. I know it's frozen, it's cold. It makes a good video. We get some views on that. But when we're in the summer, almost every single adjacent community event around us, we sponsor. We bring Mitsubishi to the community. So obviously with social distancing this year, a lot of those events aren't happening, or they're happening virtually and whatnot. So it's been a little harder for us to connect with the community this year. But in a typical year, if it's a state fair, we're there. If it's an auto show, we're there. If it's a city festival, we're there. We try to do everything. We don't really say we're not somewhere. We're almost everywhere.
That's awesome.
And you blend them in with your business strategy. You're doing it for the right reasons, right? You're focused on the community and people, but I heard you say it's going to make a great video. And so from a social media standpoint, you're also thinking about, not only like doing these great things, but like, how do we share that? And tell me a little bit about your business strategy when it comes to your charitable efforts.
So I wouldn't say there's a strategy to charitable gifts.
Yeah.
Because a gift that's not a gift isn't a gift.
True.
So for charity stuff, you do it because you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything else that comes of it, fine. But so in terms of a business strategy, when we do corporate giving, it's because it's a gift. It's not because we expect anything in return. Mm-hmm. Like I'll sit down and we want to do all this advertising for you, and I'm like, I really would just prefer you cash my check.
Right.
Because it's not, in terms of brand recognition, we have enough. We have enough commercials. We have enough brand recognition. People, recognize myself. They recognize me when I'm out in the community saying, "Hey, where's your bear?" And I'm like, "Hey, he's sleeping." And that's a daily thing, right? As it relates to community events, though, really when we were trying to build the Mitsubishi brand back in 2010, there wasn't enough units in operation to make this dealership successful. There weren't enough Mitsubishis in this market for us to service to make the service department pencil. So we had to sell cars. That was the only option. So we had to figure out, how do we get out to the community? So, you know, people walking by a Mitsubishi, I mean, you know, they'll scratch their head and say, a Mitsubishi. And, you know, if you look at JD Power, the most reliable Japanese car maker in the country right now is Mitsubishi, right? Number one, better than Honda, Toyota, Subaru, Mazda. Every single Japanese manufacturer, Mitsubishi has better initial quality. But if you're not in the community and not having that conversation with people, they may not know that. Right. So one of the local events we sponsor is called Market Fest. It's every Thursday for 2 months in our downtown White Bear Lake area. People will walk by and like, hey, that's a Mitsubishi. And they sit in it and they're like, wow, you can buy a brand new SUV for 20 grand. Or wow, I can buy a brand new car for 10 grand. You know, what? And it has a lifetime warranty on the engine and transmission, and it's got a 5-year bumper to bumper warranty and whatever. I mean, you create those conversations with people, you know, as they're eating a corn dog or eating cheese curds. They're, you know, it's it's almost like a disruption strategy. Like people aren't in that market or that festival or fair to buy a car, right? They're there to have a good time. But then if they see sponsoring that community event, White Bear Mitsubishi, they're like, well, you know what? Let's check them out. And a lot of people will consider something different if they feel like a brand or dealership represents them and cares about them.
Yeah, that's for certain. It's absolutely for certain. I was going to ask you, one of the questions was like, how was the transition from selling Saturns to Mitsubishis? But
it was tough. I mean, it was really, but you know, the interesting thing was I had to sort of fix my own head about it because I remember, you know, the day that I got called to run the store, and you know, my boss called me and said, "Hey, were you serious 2 weeks ago about if I give you Mitsubishi, you're going to sell a bunch of them?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he goes, "Great, you start tomorrow." I'm like, "What?"
What?
So I went home and I wrote a Jerry Maguire letter. I was up all night. I typed myself and I'm like, okay, Mitsubishi. Okay, what are all the brand attributes of Mitsubishi? All right, so they're a top safety pick. Most of the Mitsubishi, you know, all the Mitsubishis we sold in 2010 were top safety picks. So Outlander and Lancer had crazy, awesome crash ratings, and they had a huge warranty on them, and you could get them in 4-wheel drive. And I'm thinking, okay, our target market is Subaru, Hyundai, and Kia. And so we said, okay, let's focus on Hyundai and Kia. And today we sell more Mitsubishis than every single Hyundai and Kia dealer in the state. You know,
Wow.
But it started with the focus of who are we, right? Because a Mitsubishi isn't for everyone, and it shouldn't be, right? Mitsubishi's, you know, tagline right now is small but beautiful, right? Or small batch, big deal, right? Mitsubishi isn't supposed to be for everyone. Mitsubishi is for someone who wants to be different, right? And there's people who want a quality car with a good warranty, and they don't need it to say Honda or Mazda on it, right? So we had to build the intender base and the customer base to drive that car, to sort of build that brand loyalty to get us to the point that we are today. But it was tough. It wasn't an easy sell. And you know, I remember doing a dealer trade with another Mitsubishi dealer, and he was actively ragging on his own Mitsubishi brand, right? And he's like, "Oh, these cars are junk," and da 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 da. And his salespeople are around him. And I looked at him and I said, "If I can sell a plastic car for full sticker, I can sell a Mitsubishi for invoice." And all of the salespeople were like, "Oh, we're screwed." Because for me, they were thinking of why they couldn't do it, right? All the limiting factors with the brand. And for me, I'm like, hey, I have a brand. We get to be open, right? We get to service our customers, and we get to sell them a high quality car at a great price with a great warranty with an excellent safety rating, right? And it's perspective, because you give 2 separate dealers the same franchise, one's successful, one's not. Why? Well, probably people, probably culture, probably attitude.
Yeah, and what I love about what you're saying, and it probably goes back to your marketing roots, is that one, you put a plan together, right? And you put what sounds like a marketing plan in some ways of like, how do I identify the differentiators of my brand? Or you could do the same thing for the store, like what differentiates our store? And I think that is what's missing at times, you know, from a retail, from a business standpoint in general, is like, how do we identify what differentiates us or the value to the consumer, and then communicate that? and you're doing that, not only for your dealership, but for your brand.
Yes.
Yeah, and I gotta say, on a lighter note, I saw a commercial where there was some people breakdancing on your showroom floor.
Yes.
Talk about a differentiator, right? I mean, the world's changing. I'm sick of seeing cars driving through leaves all the time, and I want to see breakdance. Oh, you're a hip hop dancer. It makes sense now. I'm putting it together. I just put it together. And I thought that was awesome. And that's also a differentiator. Like when you see this type of advertising and you kind of get, like Carrie said, you get a feel for who the people are. You get a feel for who you want to do business with. And I, personally speaking, I want to do business with people who are looking like they're having a good time and like they're having a good time at work. We have a burger chain out here called In-N-Out. I think everybody's got an opinion about it. But when you go to In-N-Out, people are friendly. When you go to Costco, people are friendly. When you go to Trader Joe's, people are friendly. And Trader Joe's ain't the only place that has food, but I know that I'm going to be treated friendly in there. If I go to a dealership where people are breakdancing on the commercial on the showroom floor, I'm having a feeling that I'm probably not going to get punched in the face by anybody at the store, right? It's probably going to go okay, right? So I'm sorry, but the differentiation, it really means a lot for me. I really appreciated that when I saw it.
Cool.
This is where I was supposed to cue the video, and I don't have it up right now. But man, I should have had that breakdancing video ready to go. That's awesome. So, what would you say to a dealership that was watching this, and they're in some major metro before COVID? So let's remove COVID from the equation. But they're in some major metro. They're in LA and New York or some big city, and they're like, yeah, that whole culture, people, community thing, not going to work so much here in my big city. That might work in White Bear Lake, but that's not going to work here in LA. What would you say to them, and to encourage them and convince them?
The only thing I would say is, if you believe you can, you can, and if you believe you can't, you're right.
Love that. That.
I mean, to me, it's okay. So if this doesn't work where you are, that's fine. But pick something. Pick something that's culture. Pick something that's not negotiable. Right.
Yeah.
And just say, this is who we are. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can be the cowboy car salesman. You can be anything. You can be Super Dave and have a Superman cape or something. Pick. Just do you, and do you so well that no one else can do you.
Right.
That's
Love
it. I don't need anyone else to be me. I'm good. Like, I'm really good. But if you have a franchise, right, and you have inventory and you have people, you can sell cars.
It's that simple.
Richard, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
And this one is not mine.
Okay.
This is a comment that just came in from Colin Carrasquillo. Colin, I hope I said your name right. Colin wants to know, dang, man, how many Mitsubishis can you bench press?
I think I can actually leg press a Mirage. A Mirage is about 2,000 pounds, and I can leg press 1,400 pounds about 20 times. So I actually would like to put a Mirage on my leg press at the gym.
Oh my gosh! And
do that. So, but yeah, maybe we can do an event at the dealership where I try to leg press a Mirage or something.
Carrie, if he does, can you fly me out there? Because I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that.
Done. Let me tell you, we don't mean to sound like stalkers, but I feel like we saw a picture of him. Was it him leg pressing? And sitting on the leg press, yes. And we were counting the number of cylinders you have. Yeah. It was insane.
I was like, no, that's got to be at least 700.
No, my fiance, actually, if I run out of weights at the gym, my fiance will sit on top of the leg press. And I'll leg press. And actually, the last video that we made, he was doing bicep curls, sitting on top of the leg press as I was leg pressing him and all the weight. So that's what we saw. I was like, I was counting the weight. Okay, so I'm seeing how many do I see on each side? It's got to be 800 pounds. It's got to be 800 pounds, and he's doing it like nothing. He's bench. What? So anyway, when you have that competition, Carrie said it on record. I get to go. I want to be a part of that. I'll be a spotter. I'll give you water, whatever it is. But I need to see that. I will talk with my trainer about making sure that I have the endurance so I don't choke trying to leg press a Mirage.
Colin, thank you very much for that question. That was awesome. Awesome.
That's great. So I think, Matt, we're going to wrap, but I think I have a question just kind of to wrap the interview.
Yeah.
COVID has struck, the world has changed. Like, where do you see the future of automotive retail going now that we're in this environment? Where does it go from here?
I think it goes wherever it takes us. I think flexibility is so key right now. I mean, for us at the dealership, there's so many different things that we're doing to address COVID, right? So when you bring your car in for service, we put keys in Ziploc bags, so we're not touching the customer's keys. We have a new disinfecting machine we just bought at the dealership, so we're going to disinfect every vehicle when it comes in for service as a courtesy to make sure that customers' cars are clean of those, suspicious germs potentially. We clean down surfaces. I mean, I think we'll have cleaner environments. I think that personal space is going to be different in sales, and I think that online retailing, there's more interest in it. I think people will continue to do more research online, but we do complimentary home pickup and delivery for service appointments. Like we'll drive for an oil change if a customer's not comfortable coming to the dealership, we'll drive a complimentary loaner to their house, pick up their vehicle, do an oil change, bring it back. For test drives and whatnot, we do home and office test drives. We offer free delivery anywhere in the state of Minnesota. We offer delivery services all over the country, which everyone does. But really, it's going to take us wherever it takes us. I really have no idea where this ends, because right now I think that COVID-19 is getting politicized to a heavy extent, which is why the dealership we have an optional masking policy where when customers come in, if they're masked, we mask or make sure they know that we will wear a mask if they'd like us to. But there are customers that don't want to interact with someone wearing a mask. There are people that are anti-maskers, right? And so you have to sort of go as how the customer wants, which is just like having a variable sales process, right? If a customer wants to look at SUVs, you don't show them cars, right?
Right.
If people are uncomfortable with car shopping, you make it as comfortable as possible. So you do everything. You have all the digital tools online to make it possible. You have a robust BDC or phone process where if someone calls in, texts in, emails in, you're responsive, you give them answers to your questions, you help make sure that they get what they want and need. So I think that you're going to see more car sales happen outside the dealership as we move forward. There will be some people who still want that experience to come in. I think they're just going to be further down the funnel than they were before, and you just need to make sure that when they actually show up, you don't screw it up.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Matt, any final words for you?
I got to say that it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
I had fun.
To get somebody who has your perspective, somebody who's been like a vet, seen everything that you've seen and been so like inclusive and sharing that with us, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know there's going to be some people who want to reach out to you after this and maybe ask you some questions or
Sure.
How would they do that? What would be the best way to reach out to you?
I'm on Facebook as Richard Herod III, or That White Bear Guy, I think is my handle. I'm on Instagram as Richard Herod III. Feel free to send me a message there. You can go to the website. You can email me from the website. However I can help. We're certainly we're here to be of service.
That's awesome.
We really, really appreciate your time. It was I was so lucky to meet you a few years ago, and glad to just connect with you again and hear about all your success. So congratulations on that, and thank you for making our industry better.
Well, thank you, Carrie. Matt, thank you.
I'll see you at the leg press.
All right, let's do it.
I'll leg press the Mitsubishi sign or something like that. Lightweight ones. You do the car, I'll do the license plate frame.
Okay. Sounds good.
See you then.
Thank you, Richard. Talk to you later.
Man, what a great guy.
All right, Matt. Oh my God. Well, that was another great interview. I was so blown away by that in so many ways. Like, I think the crossing your beliefs or your causes with your work environment, I think most people have to kind of separate those two. I think the majority do. So I think seeing him kind of blend those two and then reach out to all kinds of different groups, right? Not the ones that just personally affect him, but really just kind of setting an environment of inclusion was my takeaway from this. What was yours?
Oh yeah, mine. And the other one was just like success comes from treating people well. You know,
Yeah.
laser focus on treating his customers well. But you know, the other thing about being able to integrate his personal beliefs and into his business practice is that he was enabled to do that. Right. When he said he was, when he got started at the store, he was a college kid. He took a couple years later, he came out and the store was like, okay, so right. There was like, he was able to just feel comfortable in his own skin, and providing an environment for that, I think helps motivate people to be their best selves. And I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah, he had some great quotes. I think I wrote one down. It says, do you so well that no one else can do you. I think that was it, right? And I think, like, to me, that's everything for me. I mean, like, I even just as a Black woman, like, I've always just wanted to be myself in an industry where people are very different. So I think there's a beauty in being able to be yourself at home and with your friends and at work as well. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Another great show, Matt.
Yes. And listen, when he leg presses that Mirage, I'm going to Minnesota. I'm gonna be there.
It's approved. You're going to have to wear a mask.
I'll wear a mask, but I won't be a part of that.
TrueCar mask. I don't know if you have a flexible policy when it comes to masks, but I'm going to make you wear one. Okay,
I'm good. But if he does it around that January where they're jumping in the lake, I ain't doing that. But I'll watch and take pictures. I ain't jumping in no frozen lake. I've seen that stuff. That's crazy. Thank you.
It's insane. So we're back next Tuesday, I guess it is, right? So
yes.
Look out for more posts on social media as you find out whoever our secret guest is going to be next Tuesday. It's going to be good. Hope you got something out of this. Once again, if you're interested, questions about TrueCar, you can go to TrueCar.com/dealer, and we'll be back. Any final words, Matt?
No, as usual, yes. Thank you for carving time out of your day. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. See you next Tuesday, everyone. Thanks.